Hey guys, my name is Kyle, and welcome to Confined Space Living, Episode 6. Today I'm going to be reviewing two books, but before that, there's something I want to address real quick. Most of you probably didn't notice, but my channel was canceled briefly earlier today. I got an email telling me that my channel was responsible for severe and repeated violations of the community standards. After reviewing their rules and being unable to find any that I had violated, I filed an appeal with them, and if you're able to see this, that tells you my appeal was approved and my channel's up and running again. So for that reason, I feel it's necessary for me to make this statement and make it very blunt. I am not a doctor. I am not a medical professional of any kind. I am not a nutritionist. I am not a dietitian. I am not a physical therapist. I am not a nurse. I am a truck driver. I am not giving any advice or recommendations of any kind. I am simply sharing with you what I have chosen to do for myself. If I talk about a product or a book, it's because I bought it for myself with my own money, have tried it myself, and like it. The two books that I'm about to review, I got on Audible using my monthly credits for having an Audible subscription. In other words, I purchased them with my own money. They were not given to me for free. They were not part of some kind of incentive to review them or anything like that. They're books that I purchased on my own for my own reasons, and because of how well I liked them, I feel it's worth my time to give them a review on my channel. So, that said, everything I say is the absolute truth as far as I know it. If you decide to do anything that I do, you are accepting the risk all on yourself. I am not telling you or anyone to do anything. I am simply sharing what I personally choose to do for myself. Thank you. I didn't want to say that, but I don't want to be accused of trying to mislead anyone by telling them things that are not true. So again, anything I say is the truth as far as I am aware at the time I say it on the video I create. Now, on to the fun stuff, the more important stuff. The reason I'm making this video, I want to review two books for you. And those books are The Big Fat Surprise by Nina Teicholz and Sacred Cow by Diana Rodgers, RD, and Robb Wolf. Now, I know normally when someone does a review of a book, they review only one book at a time. I'm going to talk about these two books at the same time because of their similarities and a slight overlap in content. I'm reviewing these books first because they're not actually carnivore diet books. Neither one of these books advocates the carnivore diet. Sacred Cow by Diana Rodgers and Robb Wolf advocates rather gently for the paleo diet. But that's not what makes it an important book for this conversation and for the topic of carnivore. The Big Fat Surprise by Nina Teicholz does not advocate for any diet except for the fact that red meat and the saturated fat found in animal foods should be a part of your diet. So here we go. Nina Teicholz, the big fat surprise, focuses mainly on the bad science behind the current low-fat diet recommendations that have been slowly killing the Western world since the 50s. She discusses how Dr. Ansel Keys and his colleagues conducted purposefully skewed research and presented intentionally skewed results for the purpose of promoting their pre-existing biases, which was that fat causes disease and red meat is bad. Because of Ansel Keys' charisma, personal magnetism, and connections within the scientific and political community, he was able to use political wrangling and his falsified scientific studies to force a low-fat diet recommendation upon the country. Since the American Heart Association and the United States government first made their dietary recommendations in the early 60s, Americans have been following those recommendations quite well. We have increased our consumption of cereals and grains, fruits, vegetables, and decreased our consumption of fat, red meat, and dairy. And yet, obesity, diabetes, heart disease, and cancer are all at all-time highs. If fat and red meat was responsible for these health issues the way Dr. Ansel Keys wants us to believe, shouldn't we be getting healthier, not sicker? Well, that's exactly the train of thought that Nina Teicholz explores in her book. Dr. Ansel Keys conducted multiple studies using flawed data collection techniques, and then he still disregarded any data that did not support his pre-existing bias, as did virtually every other scientist who worked with him or worked in the field. The scientists who didn't found themselves essentially blacklisted. They were not allowed to publish in peer-reviewed journals. They were denied grant money. They were simply ignored and pushed to the side in favor of the low-fat diet proposed by Ansel Keys and his colleagues. Nina Teicholz goes into all of this in great detail, dissecting each and every study performed in favor of the heart disease theory. She also discusses a number of the studies that contradicted the beliefs of the heart disease theory that have been ignored and buried. Now, Diana Rodgers and Robb, who are both dietitians and both support the paleo diet, wrote The Sacred Cow. The Sacred Cow is broken down into sections like a debate format, defending red meat on the basis of its nutritional value, on the basis of its ecological, environmental value, on the basis of its moral value. In the section covering the nutritional value of red meat, the Sacred Cow overlaps with Nina Teicholz' The Big Fat Surprise in several areas. In some cases, Nina Teicholz' book is more detailed on the studies in question, and in some cases, The Sacred Cow is more detailed on the studies in question. As far as that section of the book is concerned, both books are excellent reads. The next section discusses the environmental impact of animal agriculture. And animals are not causing the sort of climate harm that we're being told they are. I'm not going to discuss my personal views on climate change. That's not what this channel is for. However, I will agree that if the climate is changing, we need a solution that is sustainable, and one that's not worse than the climate change we're trying to fight. Getting rid of animal agriculture and forcing everybody onto a diet that's going to make their health deteriorate is worse than dealing with a changing climate. We need animal agriculture to stay healthy as human beings. And as Diana Rodgers and Robb discuss in their book, properly managed animal agriculture actually fights climate change. The number one source of carbon being put into the atmosphere through agriculture actually comes from carbon being released from the soil by tilling, not by ruminant animals belching and farting. By using no-till methods of farming and combining cropland and pasture land so that ruminant animals eat what's left over after a crop has been harvested and eat the ground cover that's planted when a field is fallow, they preserve the carbon that's already sequestered into the earth. Their dung returns nutrients to the earth, and they help prevent soil erosion by enriching the soil and helping plants grow. In the third section of the book, discussing morals, which is a little harder to do objectively because moral arguments are almost always emotional arguments and are not as susceptible to logic as more scientific arguments like nutrition and environment. Diana Rodgers and Robb point out there is no way for humans to feed themselves that does not involve the loss of life. Either we take the life of the animals we're going to eat, which the vast majority of farmers and slaughterhouse workers handle these animals as gently and humanely as possible, and they take pride in treating the animals as well as possible. Or we eat plants and we kill hundreds, if not thousands, of insects, birds, rabbits, mice, snakes, and all manner of other small field-dwelling animals per acre of cropland used. We are killing animals to feed ourselves one way or the other. Is one cow more precious than a whole field of mice? And again, the both books are incredibly well written. Both books are available as audiobooks on audible.com. I will be putting title and author information in the description. I will also be putting the link to sacredcow.info, which is the website that goes with the book, The Sacred Cow. If you're at all curious about the carnivore diet, you're curious about the paleo diet, or you're just curious about why following the experts' dietary recommendations is not leading you to better health, I highly recommend that you read one or both of these books, preferably both. If you're only going to read one, I would tell you to read The Sacred Cow by Diana Rodgers and Robb, because it covers the broadest spectrum of ground. If, on the other hand, you're highly interested in scientific discourse, Nina Teicholz, The Big Fat Surprise, is going to be an enjoyable read for you as she discusses the many studies both for and against red meat and the flaws in all of them. Alright guys, this one was a quick one, but if you like the content I'm providing for you, you think there's some value to it, I ask you, please like, subscribe, and share. We'll see you again next time. Have a good day and stay safe.